Unit 6, Academic Summary. Directions. In this question, you will listen to part of a lecture. You will then be asked to summarize important information from the lecture. After hearing the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Sample practice. Listen to a lecture in a business class.
Okay, so innovation is an act of making improvements by introducing something new. This is a very important topic in the study of business because this change could be considered to be a major driver in the economy. It could increase the value or the succession of many innovations that can help the growth of the whole economy. Innovations that are intended to make someone or something better are called intentional innovations. One example of intentional innovation is the bifocal glasses. Benjamin Franklin, as we all know, invented these glasses in 1784. As he was getting older, he had difficulty seeing both near and far sights. And for clear vision, he had had to switch both glasses, and well, I guess this had really bothered him. That's why he devised a way to have both types of lenses fit into one frame. The far-sighted lenses were placed on the top, and the near-sighted lenses were placed at the bottom. This was an innovation, to be exact, an intentional innovation. However, innovations can't always be planned. Well, there are surprising numbers of inventions that are associated with unintended actions. That is, an innovation can happen by accident and is called an accidental innovation. Most of you guys enjoy ice cream sodas and sundaes. You might be surprised why I mention ice cream sodas. Ice cream sodas are a good example of accidental innovation. One day in 1871, Otto Bauer was working at a restaurant and a scoop of ice cream just fell in a glass of flavored soda water. He tasted it, thought it was the most delicious tasting combination of ice cream and soda. After that, he began to serve ice cream in the soda. This was an accidental beginning of a new invention and was the innovation that helped his business and the society.
Using points and examples from the lecture, explain two different types of innovation. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
The professor gives two examples of innovation. An intentional innovation takes place when a person creates an invention in order to make an improvement. Bifocal glasses are an example of an intentional innovation, which Benjamin Franklin made because of the difficulty in switching glasses for clear vision. Ice cream soda was an example of accidental innovation, which means an item was invented accidentally to bring improvement to human life. While Bauer was working, ice cream fell in the soda, and accidentally he found out that it was the best combination. So he started to sell ice cream soda, which brought him success.
Practice test. Practice 1. Now listen to a lecture in a biology class.
So let's talk about the exotic species and the ecological connections they have to the environment. As the name says, exotic species are the organisms that have been accidentally or intentionally transported to a new location. There are a lot of controversies about exotic species, but mostly these species are introduced and damage the ecosystem. Let's look at the acacia plants. They were first planted for certain reasons, for example, shipbuilding, agricultural purposes, and cabinet work. Acacia plants were popular because of their supply and durability. What I mean is that the acacia plant has been known to reach 40 feet within 10 years, and it even shoots up 8 or 10 feet in a single season. So this allowed people not to worry about running out of acacia plants. There was no doubt that the more they cut it down, the faster it grew. But also, nobody knew this was bringing death to other species. This quick-growing species got too tall and began to create shade. Then the other plants gradually got less chance to expose themselves to the sun. The others started to die because they were excluded from the sunlight. The other example is the Western European saltgrass. Saltgrass has a root system that grows deeply when it is watered. That is why it is easily found near the water. The deeper the wetting, the deeper and healthier the roots grow. This brought fast production along the coastline. The roots of salt grasses are crucial because the other plants have to withstand drought stress caused by losing water. This species caused death to the other plants living nearby. As the salt grass absorbed the water, the others had to die because of dehydration.
The professor describes introduced species. Explain how acacia plants and saltgrass affected the environment. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
The professor shows two negative effects the introduced species have brought. The first example is acacia plants. The acacia plant was first imported because it was well known for its durability and fast growth. But when it was planted, it started to grow so rapidly that it soon obscured the sky. This made the other plants die due to the lack of sunlight as the acacia blocked the whole sky. Another example is salt grasses. The feature of a saltgrass is that it needs moisture to grow, so people planted it along the coastline. But the problem was the other plants. Because the saltgrass absorbed all the water, this caused other plants to die because of dehydration.
Practice 2. Now listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
Today we are going to discuss a question about whether an organism is controlled by the biological clock or by other external factors. In order to answer this question, researchers have conducted an experiment with flying squirrels. Flying squirrels normally have 24-hour cycles. To discover whether they are affected by the biological clock or external factors, the researchers placed these squirrels in dark surroundings for 7 days to see if they still have 24-hour cycles regardless of their environment. Although the squirrels were very active in the dark, it turned out that when they were kept in darkness simulating night for a long duration of time, they only had 23.5-hour cycles, which means that their cycle was 30 minutes faster. Then these flying squirrels were placed back to their original environment with sunlight. After being kept in the dark for a long time and then seeing the light, the squirrels returned to their original cycle. This demonstrates a case in which an organism is controlled by external factors, not by the biological clock.
Using points and examples from the lecture, explain how flying squirrels are affected by the biological clock. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
In the lecture, the professor explains about whether animals are controlled by a biological clock or by external factors. The professor uses flying squirrels as an example. He says that researchers conducted an experiment on the cycles of these squirrels. Normally, flying squirrels have 24-hour cycles, and to test whether the cycles are controlled by the biological clock or external factors, the researchers placed the squirrels in darkness for a few days. Although these squirrels were active in the dark, the researchers found out that they've only had 23.5-hour cycles, which was 30 minutes faster than usual. But when they were returned to their normal surrounding with natural light, their cycles went back to 24 hours. This helped the researchers conclude that animals are indeed controlled by external factors.
Practice 3. Now listen to a lecture in an architecture class. So let's talk about tools. What is a tool? Many people think a tool is a piece of equipment that is intended to accomplish a physical task. But this is a somewhat narrower definition of tools. The broad definition of a tool is anything that provides a mechanical advantage. For example, an elephant feels his back is itchy, so he looks around to find something to scratch his back. At that moment, he finds a stick to scratch his back. In this case, the elephant doesn't make a change with the stick, but the stick is used as a tool to scratch his back. In other words, no transformation took place when using the stick as a tool. But under the narrower definition of tools, transformation occurs for a specific purpose. Let's imagine that we have to dig up the ground to make a big hole. Everyone could guess the process would be faster and easier if we made a pointed end. So if we sharpen a stick to make a hole, a stick's formation has been changed for some specific purpose under the narrower definition. Using points and examples from the lecture, explain the two definitions of tools presented by the professor. Please begin speaking after the beep. Sample answer.
The professor gives examples of tools. Under the broad definition, tools can include anything that is used without a change in its form. For example, when an elephant uses a stick to scratch his back, the stick is used as a tool under the broad definition. On the other hand, under the narrower definition, the device is modified for a specific use. For example, in order to make a hole, we need a tool, and of course, a pointed end makes digging a hole faster and easier. Thinking of this, we will intentionally transform the stick.